violates everything society expects of women. How they should look, how they should behave, how they should exercise, what they should wear, and, at its core, how they should feel. For too long, women have been made to feel like they don't belong in sport. I have seen this repeatedly over the years as I have explored the journeys of players from grassroots to elite, as well as in my own relationship with football. Growing up, I wanted to be like my dad, wanted to like what he thought was cool. Fortunately, I was blessed with a father who was progressive and embraced and cultivated my love of football. However, he was the exception. In primary school, I was the only girl that played football with the boys, the outlier who was shunted into goal when no one else wanted to play. I wore boys' football shirts because girls' sizes and cuts did not exist. As I grew and my body changed, the shirts didn't quite fit. They were tighter around the top of the hips and there was no room for a developing bust. It increasingly felt like I was expected to grow out of sport. My secondary school in Hackney was single-sex with no boys for me to play against. I felt like I didn't fit in, but I tried to. PE, which seemed to avoid team sports, was universally hated, and so I hated it too. For someone who spent the first 11 years of my life refusing dresses and skirts, suddenly I had to pull on a short, pleated skirt and oversized pants to take part. I hated my body, a body that was stopping me from being welcomed in an arena I was so desperate to be a part of. I was self-conscious. I hated changing in front of my peers, and I hated my period too. The more I avoided PE, and the more I was driven from the sport, the more unfit I became, and the less welcome I felt. There were brief moments when I dipped back in. A handful of Arsenal ladies players came and ran sessions after school for a couple of terms. I held the keepy-uppy record and revelled in those brief evenings dancing across the sports hall with a ball at my feet. But the damage had been done. Friends were bemused that I would stick behind after school. I had to walk home alone in the fading light. I felt unfit and the sessions were fleeting. I stopped. I became a spectator in the stands where I didn't fit in either. How dare I? A young woman encroach on this overwhelmingly male safe space? Times are changing. We live in a wildly different society to the one which existed at the time of the first forays of women into football. A very different society from 20 years ago when I was 14 and grappling with the emotions discussed above even. Women can vote, can divorce, can own property, can work, can be single. Yet even today, women's football provokes a vitriolic, misogynist defence of this space that many still consider the preserve of men. Why? Because despite the huge strides forward made by women, ingrained prejudices and oppressive views of a woman's place in society are still very much present. That is seen in boardrooms, in pay packets, in advertising, in the need to prevent women from having the right to choose what grows in their bodies, and far, far more. And for some reason, the very idea of a woman pushing back against the system holding her down by entering a place of escapism for men has always been a step too far for some. The first recorded official women's football match took place on the 9th of May, 1881, between Scotland and England at Easter Road in Edinburgh. And the disdain from the press and public was palpable. Contempt for clothing, the standard of play and appearance dominated. Oh, how times have changed. Yet goalkeeper Helen Matthews, also known as Mrs. Graham, persevered, and the game she organised saw the host nation finish victorious with a 3-0 win. 5 days later, in front of 5,000 fans, a second game was abandoned after hundreds of men mobbed.